Hey, I'm Lindsay Lyman. I worked almost 12 years at Amazon and saw so many brilliant and successful overachievers burn themselves out and leave their jobs because they're so stressed and anxious. But guess what? Having a successful career does not have to be at the expense of your mental sanity and personal time. There's an easier way, and I can show you how. Let's do this. Hey friends, how's it going? I know you've been dying to get an update on my mulch project. Okay, let's be honest. You're not. It's boring. But I have been working so hard on this, I have to share. And I can proudly say I finally finished laying out 30 yards of mulch or bark. And let this be a lesson. Next time I decide I'm going to mulch all of my flower beds myself, please just do me a solid and remind me of this moment. It looks great. I'm glad it's done. And now my current project is I'm kind of having this like silent battle with the squirrels because they keep digging holes in the mulch as they are digging up all of the nuts that they buried. So it's a fun little whack-a-mole squirrel game that I'm playing, but it's done. So now I get to enjoy it. Today, I want to talk about the terrible phrase leaders are saying all the time, and they have been saying it, but it's the phrase of, we just need to do more with less. This is so frustrating to hear as an employee. And I think a lot of leaders are saying this as we're in this current economic and work state. There's layoffs that are happening. Not a lot of new headcount is being approved or open. Budgets are probably getting a little bit tighter. And it's like they're challenging us to do better, even though they took away a lot of our tools in our toolbox. We could go and do more, faster, bigger, better with more money, with more resources, with more people. But when you start taking that away, there comes an impact. And so when we hear this phrase, do more with less, it's so frustrating because it doesn't really feel psychologically safe. We don't feel like we're set up for success. I kind of think of it as like you're trying to make this super complicated dessert and you have the recipe. So you know what it is you're supposed to do. You know the end goal, but you don't have any way to measure any of the ingredients. And we're like, go. It kind of feels like the same thing where it's so frustrating because we know if we just had some more development heads, or if we just had a little bit more budget, or if we just had this additional resource, we could go and do this thing that you're asking me to do. But instead, you've pulled my resource and you still want me to deliver. I think telling your team you need to do more with less, it's really lazy leadership. Of course, you want us to reach our goals. Of course, you want us to scale and optimize and be more efficient. We know this is what we do in our work setting. So I want to tell you the 3 steps you can follow that are really pretty simple, but really powerful to know how do you deal with this if your leaders are telling you you need to do more with less. But before we do, I want to dive in for just a second to look at why is this really so hard? I think what leaders are trying to do is when they say this is to kind of motivate us to keep moving forward. They're essentially saying some of your resources are gone. We still need to move forward and find a way to make it work. Okay, I get that. I get that we still need to deliver. But trying to motivate by fear of like, I'm going to take all these things away. And, oh, if you don't deliver, if you're not able to do this, maybe you're next on the layoff list. Maybe you're not going to get promoted. Maybe we're going to hold this over your head. We're going to judge you in some way. I just don't think motivation from fear ever is the right solution, long or short term. It's just making it harder. I think of that famous phrase of like, we got to burn down the boats, right? This is what leaders will say when we need to completely change how we're approaching something or how we're trying to do this. This phrase actually comes from a Spanish expedition that happened in 1519, led by Hernan Cortez when he landed in Mexico. So he knew that his crew was already like exhausted and tired from the long journey they had been on, but he was trying to motivate them to take over this land, to capture the people and to take over. Okay. So what he did instead was he sank all the boats. He didn't actually burn them. He sank them so that they couldn't go back. They had no choice. But when you remove your only option and your choice is like go and conquer these people that are already living there or die, it doesn't feel right. I think this concept of burning the boats, burning your ship, is a terrible one. Trying to lead by fear, it's terrible. It's not creating psychological safety. It's causing us as employees to freak out and to be stressed and anxious. And when that's how we're showing up to work, when that's how we're feeling most of the time, guess what? We are not thinking at a higher level. We're not going to come up with those efficient ways to scale and be more efficient and automate things because we feel so terrible. Your nervous system is on overload. And usually if you're working from this high stress, high anxiety, then it starts to boil over into other aspects of your life and you start eating like crap. So then you feel bad. You start having sleep issues. You start beating yourself up and telling yourself, why can't you do this? What's the matter with you? You should be grateful. Everyone else is figuring this out. You get super stressed and you hold so much tension in your body. Like I said, your nervous system is so heightened. You're not going to find a way forward. So this phrase of do more with less, again, I think it's like lazy leadership. It's so fear-based and it makes me kind of want to bang my head against the wall. Okay, so here's the 3 steps I think you should take if you find yourself in this situation. Whether you're the leader or an employee on a team where your leader is telling you these things, these steps still apply to you, okay? And you need to do them in order, and I'll explain to you why as we go. First, you've got to acknowledge that hearing this phrase, it may trigger you. You are probably going to feel terrible, and that's okay. We can't go and fix anything unless we know what the problem is. Okay, so first you've got to acknowledge, I don't feel good. I don't feel supported. I don't feel set up for success. I'm feeling stress. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling uncertain. I'm feeling dread. Whatever it is you're feeling, you've got to start there and acknowledge it. And now we need to be okay and let it be hard. Let it be terrible. So step 2 is, how do you actually be okay with it? Step 2 is you've got to go take care of you to get you out of that heightened nervous system overload, terrible space. Because remember, when emotion is high, intelligence is low. You're a smart person and can find a way through this, but your brain and your body are not online to come up with a solution to even try things when you don't feel safe, when you don't feel good, when you don't feel focused or driven or hopeful, or like there's even a way you can make this work. So we got to acknowledge how we're feeling. And second, take care of ourselves. So what does that look like? Go on vacations, get the massages, do all the things. But I'm talking about daily take care of yourself and even like small 5-minute increments. Okay. I've talked a little bit about it before. Stress and anxiety and overwhelm, those are physiological things in your body. You're holding tension somewhere. You need to take a few deep breaths, relax, and then do something for you in just short snippets multiple times a day, right? Literally 5 minutes is all it takes. Maybe even it's 2 minutes. Maybe you're just going to pause, take a few deep breaths, and have a drink of water. I like to put on some loud music and dance. I like to play the Oculus. I love Beat Saber. I've talked about this so many times, but I'll go play Beat Saber. I'll go for a super short walk just around the block, literally 5 minutes. Maybe in the morning, I'm going to decide what meeting that day I'm not going to turn my video conference on. You've got to learn to take care of yourself in consistent little ways throughout the day. If not, that stress and overwhelm and anxiety and frustration and annoyance and resentment is going to keep building and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. 5 minutes is literally all it takes. Maybe you also want to start focusing on how do you take care of yourself outside of work? How do you get more sleep? How do you go to bed at a more decent time? How do you have connection with other humans? How do you maybe want to have a quiet morning? How do you spend more time in a hobby? Go to a movie, bake, read a book. There's no wrong way to do this. But if you aren't acknowledging, I feel terrible. I feel set up to fail. This is not going to work. I am not excited. If you're not able to acknowledge that, we got to start there. Once you've acknowledged that, now you need to go and take care of you. Not because it's going to get rid of this terrible thing, not because it solved your problem at work, but because until we can get your nervous system a little more calm, we don't have to be excited and happy and joyful and being like, yes, I can't wait to go and do 3 people's jobs at work. No, I'm not talking about that. You just need to get yourself out of this like highly intense, terrible state and just a little more calm. Okay? You're going to feel ups and downs all day. That's okay. We're supposed to. We're humans. Just take those couple minutes. Deep breaths, relax, short walk, drink water, move your body, something to take care of you daily, okay? Once you've done step number 2, if you haven't done step number 2, you're not ready to go on to number 3. But once you've actually gotten yourself to a little bit more calm space, you're ready to go to step number 3. And I think of it as choose the hard on purpose. Acknowledge this is going to be hard. Let's not sugarcoat it. When someone tries to like sugarcoat it or kind of BS it, it almost makes us even more annoyed and frustrated. I look at it as a lot of people in my network work at Amazon and they went back to the office this week. And Amazon gave a lot of reasons for why they were having them do that. But to a lot of folks, it didn't land well. And it was really infuriating and frustrating because, again, they felt like they were being sugarcoated, like they were being coddled, like they were being told something, but the employees didn't necessarily believe it or agree with it. So don't try to put a positive thought on something that you believe is bad and negative. It's okay for it to be hard. Choose the hard on purpose. With the like going back to the office thing, I would have just said, yeah, this is what we've decided as a company. We'd love to have you join us. If not, this is the process you'll take. Again, I get as humans, we want to know why and we want to explain it and justify it. But if someone believes going back to the office is a terrible idea, trying to convince them it's a good idea just makes them believe that it's a terrible idea even more, because your brain is always trying to prove itself right. Your brain would rather be right than feel good. We're choosing the hard on purpose. We're going to acknowledge this is going to be a hard year, a hard certain time frame, okay? And that's okay. We still want to reach our goals and we have less resources. It's going to be hard. But like, what is actually hard about that? When I think about it, it feels hard because we don't want to feel bad. We want to reach our goals. We want to do a good job. We want to keep delivering. We want to do these things we've been pouring so much of our energy and time into. But also, we don't want to be judged for it. We don't want our leaders to hold it against us. We don't want to get a poor yearly review or not get promoted or not get increased scope of work. And a lot of times in a work setting, you're measured against your goals. So when you feel like this tool has been taken away from you, we're ultimately worried. What are people going to think about us? What are our leaders going to judge us on if we miss these goals? And again, that feels terrible and scary. Here's what I think is fascinating about being worried about other people judging us. We as humans, we will do crazy things to not be judged. I was listening to an audiobook the other day, and they talked about all the data behind free throws. Traditionally, basketball players will throw it overhand to try to get the ball in the basket. But all the data says statistically, there's a higher chance a stronger probability that you're going to get the ball in the basket if you throw it like underhand, like granny style. Yet most basketball players, they won't do it that way because it looks silly and people make fun of them. People will judge them. So why the point of the game of basketball is to be the team with the most points, and all of the data and science says throwing a free throw underhand is going to give you more points. They're more worried about being judged than ultimately reaching the end goal. I say that because, again, we're so worried what our leaders, what our team, what our peers, what others are going to think about us if we're not able to find a way forward. But this is where you get to choose the hard on purpose, okay? Trying to deliver on your goals, trying to do all the same things you've been doing, trying to support the team, hit the same timelines with less resources, it's gonna be really hard. When I hear the phrase do more with less, I like to reframe it in my head of I'm going to do more of what's important and less of the rest. But you know what? Doing that's really hard because that means there's some things I've got to stop doing and I'm not good at that. It feels terrible. It feels scary. Like, oh no, if we don't do this, it's all going to crumble and fall apart. I don't like to say no. I like to do a good job. So not doing that and staying hyper vigilant and ruthlessly prioritizing what is important, it's hard. It's hard to say no. It's hard to push back. It's hard to hold boundaries. Why? We're worried what our leaders are going to think about us. We're worried what people are going to say. When they come and ask us, hey, can you do this by this date? And we say, no. Or, yes, I can do that, but that means this gets put off and pushed to the side. It's going to be hard either way. Just like trying to do more with less is hard, trying to do more of what's important and less of the rest is going to be hard. But you get to choose the hard on purpose, because one of those hard ways is more likely to get you where you want to get as a good human, feeling calm, enjoying yourself and your life while you get there. So choose the hard on purpose and then go back to steps 1 and 2 and rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Lazy leaders will continue to tell you to do more with less. Acknowledge hearing this is probably going to make you feel terrible, and that's okay. Then go take care of yourself, and afterwards choose the hard on purpose. You've got this. You can do what you can do, and it's okay for leaders to feel disappointed. It's okay for us not to be superhumans. It's okay for us to not work crazy, ridiculous hours trying to reach these arbitrary goals that we made up. It's okay. And it's okay if you choose to as well. But choose the hard on purpose. All right, my friends, you're amazing. You got this. We'll talk soon. If what you're learning from this podcast is helping, this is just the beginning. Each week, I offer a limited number of coffee chats so that you and I can connect one-on-one and talk specifically about what's going on for you. You'll leave this call feeling more hopeful and motivated, but I'm also going to teach you a few things to try right away to get unstuck. Space is very limited and these are free, so grab your spot before they're gone. Click the link in the show notes or go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat and sign up today. You got this.